let me talk about this demonization of traditional media as compared to the influencers who say that they are the repositories of true journalism, and traditional media has become, Godi media has become, influenced by the powers and things like that. Since you are a leader of traditional media as well as other new media, how do you see this?
Look, I think that this is crazy for influencers to say that they are the true repository. First of all, do you have an entire network that's going out and doing that news gathering and then the filtering and then checking all of it and putting it out? Mainstream media, legacy media as you're calling it, is bound by certain rules and regulations, right? Which we all follow. There's a guideline that we all follow. Now, these YouTubers and influencers don't follow it. Let's say on things related to national interests with war or even dead bodies, right? There's a guideline to what we follow, or rape victims, what we follow. Because we're bound by that, right? They don't. So we are mosaicing and morphing images, and they are showing full images of everything that's happening, right? That's completely unregulated. And I am all for influencers. They're great at what they do. But they're not journalists, and we can't confuse the two things.
But there are former journalists who have gone on to these platforms, become
influencers, and they're not journalists anymore. Right?
So 25 years of journalism, and now that same legacy media which paid for their EMIs, they're demonizing them, that wasn't journalism, and what they're doing now is journalism. That I have a problem with that. I don't know about you.
Well, they have to pay their EMIs now also, so then what should they do, right? But I think that they've made a transition from journalism to influencers. One part of it is your guidelines as far as the content is concerned and the ethics. The other part of it is the business side of it, right? Because they know, like we discussed, in big tech, there are algorithms of extreme. So when they do extreme and clickbaity, they know that that's how their revenue is going to rack up. Secondly, they can also go in and take in advertisers and endorse them without the regulations that we have to follow as legacy media. So I think that
many of them say that the last election, which was the 2024 election, was actually social media and alternative media, and traditional media lost the plot in the 2024 election. So do you agree with that? And what do you think the next election is going to be?
So, I had actually built out our entire ecosystem to say that the 2024 elections would be the digital election. Now, I believe that it was half true. Because one side did not fight the battle on mainstream, right? They only fought the battle on digital. But the main party, the BJP, still fought the election on TV. So we were a little bit, ahead of the curve, let's say. But 2029 is 100% going to be a digital election. I think part of that is what role will influencers play? And that goes to viewers, people, etc., who are watching it, but also to leaders, right? They also have to be mindful about influencers and how they're treating influencers and how they're treating journalists, right? Just because somebody has a camera and a mic, right, doesn't mean that they're a journalist. They do not have the background of being a journalist. And I think that this discredits all the experience and work that real journalists do. So as long as influencers are labeled as influencers and journalists are labeled as journalists, I don't have a problem with the space. Where it starts mixing, I'm very uncomfortable with it. And I think that this is, again, one of those tipping points which is happening in our media. Like we talked about very early in the podcast about how mainline newspaper brought in paid editorials, which then started infecting everything, right? We have a situation where we have influencers on primetime TV. And that's a problem for me. You cannot be on primetime TV and also be an influencer on the side, right? Those two things shouldn't necessarily go together. I mean, I don't know how you do the guardrails around that. And that's really problematic.
In fact, some channels are making that room for influencers to come and anchor.
And that's, I think, a problem. I think that's a wrong precedent to set, and it's something you're not going to be able to roll back.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching ANI podcast with Smita Prakash.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा।
The issue is टूटा है क्या भारत?
400 पार का मतलब ये है कि संविधान खतरे में है।
क्या हम लोग ये निर्देश देते हैं कि फला को गिरफ्तार करके जेल डाल दो?
वही तो कह रहे हैं सब।
ये बेबुनियाद निराधार आरोप।
सच्चा सुनना चाहो देखो स्मिता प्रकाश ANI, it does not lie.